Thank you for joining me, Diana Master, on NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making waves in Namibia and beyond, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports and economic news. And now coming up in this broadcast, government sued over COVID-19 vaccinations. Army makes $200,000 Namibian in fines from AWOL soldiers, and 300 job losses imminent at B2 Gold. Follow all our programs on 102.com or DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 25 in Namibia. Stick around, midday news update coming right up. The Ministry of Mines and Energy has announced that fuel will become more expensive at midnight. The price of petrol rises by 152 cents per litre and the price of diesel by 72 cents per litre. Visual News highlights local stories from across Namibia right after the break. Stay with NMH at 1. Getting into today's visual news clips, a devastating fire last week claimed the home and belongings of Matthias Shiponeni, a 72-year-old blind man from Hakahana in Katutura. Shiponeni had stepped outside briefly at midnight when the fire broke out, unaware that it would be the last time he would set foot in his cherished residence. This video is courtesy of Mario Ngula.
Medina ranga Matthias Shiponon ndanga poko je bashi yangu ya pia na pia konde ya pia ufiku ya pia mba poswaru fape taiti enda itajama nda customer nda konje ikaje ndiye nyeno mwanzo damandi kwa ashinda Dumbodono wetendi moshinda mon. Nani anga tafu ngido. Nida kuti. Nduta ya tema. Nduta ngeno tulima ina kamationa onki. Kamationa ina handuka. Ama itenda agika. Nduta ngeno ina kama tirinatu. No sheti. Ndio boa girira. Ko nduta kamationa. Kwa jirira. Neno nashinda batondoke ke udime. Batondoka nawe wa ngina uri moshibero. Namwe. Abanyino yaipopino. Ndara kugatirwa. Andoka pereki ngagwe na okapereki, okapala, okapirangi. Amifu kamfepo bashi yangi ganyari. Ane utia kapinya ita kadurali kuifika mifako kona tangwa nyuwe tenyiri na tangwa nyini na ifika mayono kama liwa kakepo kuifika mifako na ina tangwa nyaipo haina ngala ike pa washinda shiki
tokwa tilo kwa washinda
kwa ike haina ngala wana to kandi kukombero waka inshela kumaka inshela ndapo waki pereki irine konga ilimani kujama pereki irine ne paradirin. Ai perekirin enjono. Ada bada yapumba tangwe yapumba tango mitenge. Yona tango ni pereke kutura mongola. Pereke enjono ayapya baba yanda yoka enjono ayapya luari. Upo itondo kandi kayaku kombro ya gavana no. Ya gavana nei mana kwe batiro ndaga uti anu kanya yapo ko dipeni sako ko katem.
Just after the break, the Namibian Sun leads us into our newspaper review segment.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. On the Namibian Sun front page, SWAPO Party's Oshikoto coordinator Amos Amakwiyu says he's not moved by the massive recruitment drive in the region by the Independent Patriots for Change, which he labelled a fly-by-night party. Opposition parties do not stand a chance at making a dent in Oshikoto, he said. Amakwiyu was reacting to concerns by SWAPO members over the perceived sluggish reaction by the party's regional leadership to opposition parties, particularly IPC, recruiting thousands of people in the region. IPC is making positive strides in recruiting new members from the ruling party in Oshikoto, with the region being one of the SWAPO party's key strongholds. The IPC infiltration has sent some party members into a tailspin. However, according to Amakwiyu, Oshikoto belongs to SWAPO, and that will be proven in the general elections scheduled for November. On page 3, residents of Otweya, an informal settlement in Walvis Bay, are up in arms after Irongo Governor Neville Andre Itope's office issued eviction notices to 11 illegal occupants of houses in the area. The residents claim that the eviction letters, which were drafted in 2023, were unfairly issued. According to Group Chairperson Nehale Liampingana, although the eviction letters were drafted in August 2023, they were only delivered to the residents on 20 March 2024. This delay in issuance is unjust and has left many residents uncertain about their future, he said. The houses were constructed as an emergency response to a massive fire that swept through Otweya in July 2020. The settlement was formerly named Twaloloka but was renamed after the blaze, which destroyed houses and left hundreds homeless and killed a baby. Now, according to the front page of the Republican, the Defence and Veterans Affairs Ministry made revenues of over 200,000 Namibian dollars from fines issued against members of the Namibian Defence Force who had been absent from work without official leave. This is according to a 2023 audit report by the Office of the Auditor General, which also noted that the ministry overstated its revenue by over 2 million Namibian dollars. According to the report, the ministry issued fines to the tune of 207,278 Namibian dollars on account of members of the NDF not being at work without authorization. In fact, the ministry anticipated a higher figure in its projections, but soldiers somewhat behaved better during the period under review, the audit found. This reduced revenue was due to a reduction of fines arising from members being absent without official leave, together with the overall increased discipline of military staff members. Hence, less revenue from fines was collected than originally anticipated, it read. On page 3, the High Court in Windhoek yesterday granted an interim interdict to Namib Mills against Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters activist Michael Amushelelo, who was forbidden 70 meters from its premises. This follows after Amushelelo made several threats on his Facebook profile this past month against the company on the basis of disciplinary procedures regarding 13 employees, of which 8 of them were sent home. Now moving over, according to its front page, the Allgemeine Zeitung is reporting on the Elephant Conservation Organization, EHRA, increasing tourism in the Oekab and Huab rivers is a cause for concern as the behavior of the desert-adapted elephants could change. That is what Allgemeine Zeitung in today's publication is opening with. With the aim of promoting ethical and responsible tourism in the region, EHRA has now organized a workshop for tour guides from the surrounding lodges in Oekab Riviere region in collaboration with tourism supporting conservation. The aim of the 4-day training series was to give the guides an understanding of the role they play in protecting elephants and tourists. Part of the workshop also included teaching important skills for conducting ethical elephant viewing. Similar workshops were also offered to lodge managers from the Oekab and Huab Riviere regions. Another workshop is to be held this month for guides in the Huab Riviere region. On the paper's page 3, the dispute in the leadership of the National Youth Council, which seems to be settling down. The Minister of Youth and Sports has offered support as she appears to have sided with one of the parties to the dispute. Ipumbushimi reaffirms his position as Minister of Public Enterprises and puts his foot down. After the break, we continue with our newspaper review segment, starting with what's leading the Namibian newspaper's front page.
Hello, Namibia! Ons is by die kus en ons is lus.
Terwyl by die East Shore.
Okay. Okay, so
yes, please, today you make sure that we are fed. Sorry, ek asi.
The Namibian newspaper reports that thousands of mobile money clients, including electronic wallet clients, have been blocked from using cell phone banking services following the failure to register their SIM cards by the 31st of March. This comes amid Bankers Association of Namibia Chief Executive Brian Kasherwa's warning that the deactivation of SIM cards could disproportionately impact rural communities who rely on electronic wallets for convenient financial transactions. A lot of Namibians actually make use of these wallets to send money around. There may be some clients who may not have had time to register their SIM cards, and as a result, their online banking platforms will not be working, but those are probably the minority, he says. Telecom Namibia yesterday announced the deactivation of 191,598 unregistered prepaid SIM cards effective from the 1st of April. On page 3, dams in southern and central Namibia have received inflows of water after rains over their catchment areas during the past weekend. The Namibia Water Corporation NamWater reported yesterday that the Hardap, Naute, Oanob, Driehoek and Bondels dams in southern Namibia and the Von Bach and the Yomatakwa dams in central Namibia have received inflows, the first significant addition of water to the reservoirs during the current rainy season. Naute Dam near Kitmanshoop received an inflow of more than 7 million cubic meters of water, pushing its level up from 39.3% at the start of last week to 48% yesterday, while Hardap received an inflow of nearly 1.7 million cubic meters, raising its level from 11.7% a week ago to 12.2% by yesterday. Driehoek Dam near Karasburg, which was empty a week ago, received more than 2.9 million cubic meters of water since then, bringing its level to 19.2% of its storage capacity by yesterday. Now, the New Era's lead story reports that the government is being dragged to court for allegedly refusing to provide information on the safety and possible adverse effects of the COVID-19 vaccinations administered during the pandemic. The Health Defense Leagues, which represent 537 people, along with members of the High Public, want the High Court to direct the government, President, Health Ministry, Education Ministry, Attorney General, and the Namibia Medicines Regulatory Council to provide their source of information and the information itself, which they relied when they informed the public that the COVID-19 vaccines were safe and effective for people with chronic illnesses and would help prevent serious illnesses, hospitalization, and death from COVID-19 infections. On page 3, B2 Gold Oshikoto Mine, the country's largest gold producer, is set to start with a voluntary retrenchment of 300 employees this month. This will result in a huge chunk of workers from the mine's open pit section being sent home. Last year, the mine announced its plans to embark upon a phased closure of open mining due to depleted ore reserves, but it did not disclose the number of workers to be affected, as consultations with stakeholders were still ongoing at the time. Now, according to MarketWatch, the Bank of Namibia has started laying the groundwork to assess what the future of an oil-producing Namibia may look like. The research it conducts will help shape policy into what can be considered a nascent industry for Namibia, it added. This is part of the central bank's strategy going forward, Bank of Namibia Governor Johannes Gavagab said at the launch of his annual report for 2023 and dividend declaration of $511.3 million Namibian dollars to the government. Gavagab's comments come in the wake of renewed interest in Namibia as an exploration destination from oil companies following potentially good prospects for the presence of oil and gas. Now, the NSC celebrates ICAO safety audit. We give you a full update of the story as we head over to economic news just after the break.
Hi, Sonia.
Hi, Tufini. What are you reading?
I'm reading about the Child Care and Protection Act. in this pamphlet I got from school.
What's that?
It is Namibia's main law for the children and the issues affecting them. The Act classifies here that a child is anyone under the age of 18 years. Check out some of the rights meant to protect you. For more information, contact the Children's Advocate.
For more information, contact the Children's Advocate Namibia in the Office of the Ombudsman on 061 20 73 111. Send us an SMS on 20401. SMS costs 40 cents. You can also send us a message via our Facebook page. Remember, the services of the Children's Advocate are free of charge.
Getting straight into our economic news, the Namibia Airports Company said it is satisfied with the recent outcome of the country's Universal Safety Oversight Audit Program, a continuous monitoring approach and an on-site audit conducted by the International Civil Aviation Organization from the 6th to the 18th of March. The international audit was undertaken to evaluate the effectiveness of Namibia's safety oversight systems in compliance with the ICAO standards and recommended practices. The preliminary results scored Namibia 72.31%. In 2016, Namibia's overall score was 57.39%. These results were reached off an assessment of the country's effective implementation of solutions to significant safety concerns, indicating at the time that there were serious breaches of safety standards which could lead to several airlines shunning Namibia's airspace. We'll now take a look at the economic indicators just before we bring you African news. The Namibian dollar trades at 23.59 to the British pound, 20.23 to the euro, 18.79 against the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 60 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. First Rand Namibia Limited stocks took a dip of 0.50%. Letigo Holdings Namibia Limited stocks, Namibia Breweries Limited stocks took upturns of 2.50 and 0.03% respectively, while the rest maintained. Local index closed on an upturn of 0.12%, while overall index closed on a downturn of 0.05%. Gold and platinum are down. Meanwhile, copper and Brent crude oil took upturns of 0.10 and 0%. Well, now gold is trading at $2,272 and 21 cents per ounce. We now expand beyond Namibia's borders to give you the latest news from the African continent here on NMH at 1. The president of Botswana has threatened to send 20,000 elephants to Germany in a political dispute. Earlier this year, Germany's Environment Ministry suggested there should be stricter limits on importing hunting trophies. Botswana's President Mokgweetsi Masisi told German media this would only impoverish people in the country. He said elephant numbers had exploded as a result of conservation efforts, and hunting helped keep them in check. Germans should live together with the animals in the way you're trying to tell us to, Masisi told German newspaper Bild. The country is home to about a third of the world's elephant population, more than 130,000, more than it has space for. Herds were causing damage to property, eating crops and trampling residents, he told Bild. Botswana has previously given 8,000 elephants to neighboring Angola and has offered hundreds more to Mozambique as a means of bringing the population down. We would like to offer such a gift to Germany, Masisi said, adding that it was not a joke and that he would not take no for an answer. Stick around. Right after this, we get into our international news. Cyprus appealed on Wednesday for vigorous action from the EU to stem a recent tide of mostly Syrian refugees arriving by sea via Lebanon, saying the island's reception capacity was at breaking point. The situation is getting progressively worse, and in the past few days we have essentially been experiencing an onslaught of rotting boats and refugees putting their lives at risk, said Konstantinos Ioannou, Cyprus's interior minister. This week, more than 600 people arrived in Cyprus, spurred by milder weather. The sea journey from Lebanon or Syria to Cyprus takes takes about 10 hours. All indications are that it will continue. ENO told State Radio about the increase in arrivals. That's being further fueled by the fact that the Lebanese authorities' focus on stemming migration at its coastline has waned in recent months, ENO said, amid escalations on the Lebanese-Israeli border. Cyprus has long appealed to its EU partners to declare parts of war-ravaged Syria safe, which could facilitate the return of its fleeing citizens. It also wants the EU to aid Lebanon to be contingent upon stopping the migrant outflow, ENO said. That brings us to the end of our international news, but don't go anywhere because we follow right back with local sports.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
In local sports news this afternoon, the players to represent Namibia at its debut at the 8th edition of the African Showpiece have been announced. The final preparations for Namibia's national men's futsal team have gone well so far. Coach Ryan Yago told the media yesterday at the announcement of the team and delegation set to travel to Morocco for the nation's debut at the 2024 Futsal Africa Cup of Nations. Nedbank Namibian Newspaper Cup football champions Umsati had much of their success due to the skill and determination of Kavaripura Shambeni, who was deservedly named goalkeeper of the tournament. The Namibian Volleyball Federation, with Bank Vintic as a primary sponsor, hosted the 40th anniversary of the DOC tournament at the Dome in Swakopmund last weekend. Right after this, we bring you international sports news. Lahiru Kumara finished with 4 wickets for 50 to help Sri Lanka thump Bangladesh by 192 runs in the second test and sweep the two-match series 2-0 on Wednesday. Tottenham Hotspur are still a work in progress, but there are encouraging signs that they're heading in the right direction, said manager Anja Postecoglou, whose side put on a mature performance in a 1-1 draw at West Ham United on Tuesday. And closing off our international sports news, Cameroon have appointed Belgian Marc Brace as the new head coach of their men's football team, the sports ministry said in a statement on Tuesday, following news in February that former coach Rigobert Song's contract would not be renewed. If you're just joining us, this is NMH 1, and we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast right after this.
Hello, Namibia! Ons is by die kus en ons is lus.
Terwyl by die East Shark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes. Please, today you make sure that we are fed. Sorry, Ekasi.
You're still with NMH 1. For those of you that are just joining us, let's take a look at the news highlights. In African news, the president of Botswana has threatened to send 20,000 elephants to Germany in a political dispute. Earlier this year, Germany's Environment Ministry suggested there should be stricter limits on importing hunting trophies. In international news, Cyprus appealed on Wednesday for vigorous action from the EU to stem a recent tide of mostly Syrian refugees arriving by sea via Lebanon, saying the island's reception capacity was at breaking point. And in local sports news, the players to represent Namibia at its debut at the 8th edition of the African Showpiece have been announced. The final preparations for Namibia's national men's futsal team have gone well so far, Coach Ryan Yago told the media. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia and beyond. From me, Diana Master, do have yourself a lovely Wednesday ahead.